During the mid-15th and 16th century, in the Finsbury Fields, London, the aristocracy was a highly valued social prestige. They possessed a great deal of wealth and influence. The fairy tale marriage of the region's richest Viscount, Jasper Plantagenet, and his alluring young spouse, Calliope Taylor, who performed at the theatre. Their love story won many admirers at that time. Countless women were enthralled when he laid his bride on the classic yellow luxury couch, painstakingly detailed by the goldsmith and magnificently furnished in a big residence with the servant on the duty and delectable food. He said,
"This beauty of yours must be worthy of all the most extravagant luxuries."
Jasper Plantagenet was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He owned a lot of land and property. Money can buy everything, he believed. He was married to the love of his life, Calliope Taylor, a charming dancer. On a regular basis, she danced in the theaters to amuse the noble. She was a slim girl of 18, and she had a light short hair and small full lips. Her eyes, which were brown with a shade of green through them, had a habit of glancing upward when she spoke with anyone. Calliope Taylor has always designed to affluence because her baking father worked at a tiny bakery and her mother parrot during the sweeting scenic pledge. Her richest living made her crave for the prince charming all the more, and she thought Jasper Plantagenet was the one she has always desired and journeyed for. Jasper appeared at the theater just as she turned 18 with an adventurous and eye-catching outfit. After a few encounters, she decided to propose to this gorgeous girl.
"Calliope Taylor, will you marry me if all I have is this golden necklace?"
Calliope Taylor put the necklace around her neck and left with Jasper Plantagenet at the drop of a hat. The pair shared a loving word during the wedding ceremony, which was performed in the most opulent in the Finsbury Fields. Jasper Plantagenet looked at her with affectionate eyes.
"Treasure, that is what you are. Let me treasure you."
After their marriage, all of her clothing and jewels were offered by the servant to the luxury couch, as her dear spouse would not let her leave it. Everyone applauded her for having a husband who courted her like a child. However, he never once paid attention to her sentiment, regardless of whether she loved those gorgeous presents and clothes or not. Sometimes she sat on that couch like a dead-eyed person, since she was utterly desolate in that massive mansion and also wanted to take care of her father in his old age at a later time. She begged him to let her father live with her. The Viscount Plantagenets were hesitant and eventually looked to let her father work as a cook in the house. She didn't know what else to do either, even though she didn't sit well with him. The father could only look at his daughter as he carried meal to her room and then returned to the kitchen timidly. While having a meal one day, she spotted a little piece of paper left by her father. "Are you happy?" She seemed to burst in tears, but she suddenly smiled faintly because she lived off her husband, a dependent lifestyle. Perhaps she did not want to step down that couch anymore. Recently, Calliope could see that the Viscount who once swore an oath to her had changed. Not only was he indifferent to her, but sometimes he also said a harsh word. She often wondered whether he were really the one who used to hold her in the palm of his hand. Calliope did not want to lose him. In fact, she could not lose him. The life that she was having was a life of dream. Enjoy life in heap of money. To resurrect the dead love in her husband's heart, she sat there on her classic luxury couch, dressed up in the most dazzling garment of the Jasper taste, and sprayed the scent that Jasper favored. Unfortunately, he did not want to look back. She even tried to change her voice, the way she spoke, her behavior, but it went down the drain.
One day, the day that she considered to be as boring as usual, her husband did something that she would never forget. It was sunlit outside. All the sunbeams were dancing in every corner of the house. She was lying on her yellow couch, sunbathing and thinking about Jasper. Suddenly, the familiar hoarse whinnies were heard, and she knew that her husband was home. "That's strange," she thought, as her husband would not arrive at the mansion this soon. For a little while, she imagined that he had brought her something pleasant and that the relationship could be healed. However, what he really brought home shook her. A blonde-haired woman with the most beautiful outfit that she had ever seen was walking side by side with Calliope's charming prince. Seeing how flushed the cheeks were, Calliope could tell how much fun they were having.
"Who is this young lady, my dear?"
Calliope asked. with a trembling voice as she tried to suppress her emotion. The strange woman looked at her with an inquisitive look, which gradually changed into contemptuous. She smiled and slowly raised her soft but charming voice.
You must be Viscountess Plantagenet. It is my honor to meet such a picturesque woman. I am Countess Davies, the owner of the largest chain of jewelry stores in Finsbury Fields.
She said, trying to show off herself.
What are you doing? Seeing the Countess here and you are still sitting instead of standing up and bowing?
Viscount Plantagenet spitefully shouted at Calliope with distaste. Without letting Calliope have some time to say any words, Jasper said that he no longer wanted to harbor a moving picture who knew nothing but sitting on a stupid couch and talking nonsense every day. Calliope's mind went blank. She still remembered all the words that Jasper made in their wedding. He was the one who said that all she needed to do was be a nice treasure to him. Now, he talked as if she was the one who chose to be a nice-looking porcelain doll on this luxury couch. They left, while her feelings were still moving heavily inside her. The last words that she was able to remember was, "Let's end everything here." What did Jasper mean by that? Didn't he say that he would treasure me? To the Viscount, she was just nothing other than a momentary fascination. Calliope knew that she had really lived in her dream, which was not real and could never be real. She did not want to live a life like this anymore. She wanted to seclude herself from this imprisoning chair. By the time she stood up, she immediately fell off on the floor. Her legs did not have any strength left. She could not even stand like a normal person, let alone dance. Calliope felt totally hopeless. She depended on him so much that now she was unsure whether she could live without him. She became extremely aggressive, screamed and questioned herself why she was blindfolded by money and fame. Calliope threw all the decorations around the luxury couch to unleash what she had been holding back for so long. She grabbed a piece of broken glass nearby, non-stop slashing on the couch, even though her hands was full of blood. Perhaps, in this moment, nothing could be more hurtful than her heart. It was these flashy things that imprisoned and killed her. She felt useless, hopeless, impotent, and she wanted to end her life. The shard of broken glass cut through her soft skin. The cold red liquid started to bleed unceasingly. Calliope fell on the floor and mumbled,
"In the next life, I don't want to live a life like this anymore."
At the very last moment, she seemed to understand that as a woman, you need to know how to love yourself. If you didn't, you couldn't expect others to do this to you. You needed to be a strong girl who could overcome the worst. Be the girl who was fearless, independent, and dared to face anything. And be the girl who never backed down. The sound of birds chirping, along with the rustling of trees, was like a beautiful symphony of nature. Today's weather was beautiful when warm rays of sunshine penetrated every corner, along with a light breeze gently shaking the green leaves. Calliope lifted her eyelids with difficulty. She felt like a very long time had passed. Sitting up, she saw a familiar scene before her eyes. A small house full of musty smell that she used to hate so much had now become strangely dear. In the kitchen, a familiar figure is struggling to take a cake out of the oven. It's Daddy, she thought. Calliope knew that she was reborn. Dad brought her back to life again. This time, our young lady would not let her dad down, and she would live her life.